Hello and a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining me for Newsdesk. I'm Nancy Kacungira. From South C to Marsabit, we're bringing you the news as it happens right here on KTN. We begin with a tragic incident right here in Nairobi. Several families were left homeless last night in Halai Estate in Nairobi's South C area after a mysterious fire broke out around 9 p.m. last night. The fire, which is believed to have been caused by a water heater that blew up, burnt down 3 houses, with the Kenya Red Cross rushing to the scene in good time to contain the fire. One person sustained minor injuries while others escaped unhurt. Families residing in the estate were forced to clear their houses in fear of the spread of the fire. And there are fears of a humanitarian food situation in the northern part of the country as drought continues to bite, with several months of failed rains. Herds of livestock have died in Kenya's arid northeastern province as drought conditions worsen and water shortages become even more acute. Drought monitoring and assessment reports indicate that the hardest hit areas are Marsabit, Moyale and Mandera. Livestock farmers in the 3 regions have lost animals since July, according to county officials. The average daily loss of animals has risen in the last 3 weeks as crucial water sources dried up. Many of the remaining water sources are contaminated, leading to increased incidence of waterborne diseases such as typhoid, amoeba and diarrhea.
We do not start responding when we start seeing mass livestock death and human death. We start responding when the situation is still maybe in zones that we can help the situation. We as the county government have invested very heavily in trying to make sure the severity of the drought is mitigated throughout from November until now.
And the Judges and Magistrate Vetting Board is confident of beating the deadline on 31st of December 2015 to complete its mandate of vetting all judges and magistrates in the country. The board chair, Sharad Rao, however, says that the board is facing a lot of court injunctions and mitigation while executing its work, something that he says is dragging the progress of the board.
When we find a judge or a magistrate suitable or unsuitable, we want to find him suitable or unsuitable on a holistic, the whole thing, not just part of it that was he suitable before 27th of August 2010 and perhaps not suitable now. So this we are not quite able to appreciate, and that's why we are challenging it in the court.
And the Devolution and Planning Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru yesterday presided over the construction of major road networks in Kibera slums, just days after President Uhuru Kenyatta unveiled a slum upgrading program in the area. The road network, which covers Darajani to Mbagathi Road, will ease transport and communication in the largest slum in the country. The exercise is implemented by the National Youth Service, and the Kibera community will be under the National Construction Authority. The exercise, which will take up to 6 weeks, will also see 20 new toilets constructed and old ones rehabilitated.
We have now moved just from cleaning the streets, which is where we started, and cleaning the storm drainage. Now we are starting to build a few toilets and also connecting the toilets to the main sewer line. We have started digging, and we went down through Kibera to see how the sewer line is progressing.
Some good news there for residents of Kibera. Let's head now to Nakuru County, where the Task Force on Education has recommended that the Ministry of Education controls the mushrooming of substandard institutions by private individuals. The task force that was established in February this year to oversee challenges affecting performance in the county following a series of poor performances. The task force recommends that the expansion and improvement of existing schools is done instead of establishing more secondary schools. Speaking during the official launch of the report, the chairperson, Anil Walia, said that classrooms in rural areas were inadequate, especially in Kurisoi North, Nakuru East and Gilgil Town, resulting into large classes that were difficult to manage. Other factors affecting performance include inappropriate and inadequate teaching and learning materials, understaffing and acute shortage of trained teachers in the majority of secondary schools.
The county had a shortage of 1,787 primary school teachers. The teacher-pupil ratio in most of the schools visited was about 1:80, which was quite high above the recommended standards.
The hardest part is now to implement. And that is why I would like to suggest that perhaps we do not quickly disband you. We now rewrite you new mandate so that you may oversee the implementation of this, if you accept. Because unless we do that, this report will just go to the shelf. So I've seen the chairman has stood and he has nodded. So we are converting this task force to oversee the implementation of this report.
Well, you've probably heard this phrase before: size doesn't matter. Well, apparently it does, according to researchers at the University College in London. A new study now suggests that the size of a woman's skirt can determine if she's at risk of breast cancer. KTN's Catherine Awando explains how.
Have you gone up a skirt size or two in the last 10 years? If yes, then you may be at risk of postmenopausal breast cancer. Don't believe it? Here's why you should. A new study released just this week suggests that if a woman increases in skirt size every 10 years, their chances of getting postmenopausal breast cancer increases by 33% with every increase, while an increase of 2 sizes every decade means a 77% rise in risk.
I think using dress sizes and skirt sizes is actually something that we can all relate to. Yeah. Instead of using indexes that sometimes are hard to interpret, because when I tell you my dress size is this and I've increased from this to that, it's indicative of what exactly I'm talking about, where exactly has the weight increased.
The study in a British medical journal was conducted by Dr. Usha Menon and her colleagues at the Gynecological Cancer Research Centre at University College London. The researchers followed 92,834 postmenopausal women for more than 3 years. At the beginning of the study, the women were asked for their heights and weights, as well as lifestyle and reproductive histories, and what skirt size they were in their 20s. In case you're wondering, issues like pregnancies, smoking, drinking habits, and family histories of breast cancer were factored in. And the results revealed 1,090 women of the 92,000 did indeed develop breast cancer. It's 1.2%, but it's significant.
So we're not saying all obese people will develop breast cancer, or everyone who has gained a certain amount of weight will develop breast cancer, but it is known to be a predisposing factor.
What the researchers were looking for is fat around the stomach and its direct relation to breast cancer. They say the fat around the stomach is metabolically more active than fat found anywhere else on the body.
The fat around the abdomen produces certain substances, an enzyme called aromatase, which enables estrogen to be produced in another part of the body other than the ovary. Now, high levels of estrogen are actually a risk factor for developing breast cancer.
So if you were a size 10 in your 20s and now 14 in your 30s, you may need to consult your doctor. Besides that, the authors of the study urge women to reduce their weight. Of course, if you're in your 60s and you used to wear a size 10 miniskirt in your 20s, getting back to the good old days may not be so easy. However, the researchers say you need to get back to wearing the skirt you used to wear when you were going through menopause. That is by cutting out some pounds. And if you're in your 20s and still rocking that size 10, then try and keep it that way throughout your life. And if you're not in your 20s and not a size 10, Menon and her colleagues urge you to keep your weight as low as possible before you hit menopause. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
Very easy way there to determine if your health is at risk. Well, away from that, across the border, 10 people were arrested during a major security swoop in Uganda's capital, and they were remanded in custody after appearing in court on terror-related charges. 9 of the suspects are Somali nationals, while 1 is Kenyan. They're charged with aiding and abetting terrorism at various places in Uganda, Kenya and Somalia, where they rendered support to Al-Shabaab with the sole aim to commit terror activities. The suspects were rounded up in a joint security operation on the 13th of September in the city suburb of Kisenyi.